Hundreds are being saved and healed just through the tapes going out across the world. All in English, but being translated in many, many different languages and tribes around the world. We hear from them back through the mail.
My name is Micaiah. I come from Zimbabwe. I just want to share my testimony of what the Lord has done for me. I used to have a problem of epilepsy. It started when I was in Form 2 secondary. It was in 2002. It used to happen more often, like twice a day, sometimes twice even a week, 3 or 4 times a week. After 2 years from when I was in Form 2, that's when I accepted the message, and that's when I got converted. And then after after I became a Christian, my first expectation was that the thing was just going to go away. And but it didn't turn out like as early as I thought it, but it continued on happening more often. So what used to happen, like sometimes when I was in church, whenever the preacher would preach about the story of that man who came when Jesus Christ was coming down from the mountain, and then whenever he would mention, the Father came and then he said to Jesus Christ, my son, sometimes he falls into the water, sometimes he falls into the fire. Once he mentions that, quoted that scripture, something would just come and tell me, you just say within me, you just say, that's you. And the next thing, I would start to feel dizzy, and then I'll collapse. But then I didn't notice like that's how it was happening. So I would just, whenever the preacher quotes, maybe even like that other story of, is it brother Bad? Is it the one that had that has a brother who was epileptic? Whenever he also quotes the same thing, or something would just say that's you, and then I would collapse. And then after some time, I was in town, and then there was this other guy who was just talking to someone else, and then he mentions the same thing. He was talking to someone else about epilepsy, and then I was just passing by, and the thing just caught also in my mind, and then it just triggered that same conscience, and then something just said, that's you, and then I collapsed in town. And then when I collapsed, I was bruised, I vomited, and it was just horrible. And then there was this other Nigerian who just came by, and he said, brother, with a Nigerian accent, he just said, brother, do you have a God? Like he was coming from Norway, and then he was like, and I was like, I couldn't like answer him. I was a bit unconscious, and it was just and feeling a bit weak. So that question just continued on like ringing in my mind, and it was like, okay. Then I went and then I prayed, and I was like, okay, and it really like got into me. And then so one Sunday, that last Sunday of that month, that's when I was assisting the brothers in the baptismal session. And then after the baptism, so there are 2 rooms. There's a sister's changing room, and there's a brother's changing room. So after the baptism, all the clothes are taken to the sister's changing room, so that there'll be a sister that will be coming in to wash the clothes, and then preparing for the next baptismal session. So after the baptism ended, so I just took one of the towels, I laid it on the floor, and then I took the clothes, because when they change, and then they put the clothes in the sink. So, and then I took the clothes, now putting them on the towel, when I was now wrapping up the towel, then I heard just something he said, your kind of ministry needs you to have faith by yourself. So when it said that, my heart just calmed down like that, right? And then then after some time, so I was just thinking about it. My heart was now calm, but I was now starting to think, okay, so what's the next thing? What is going to be the best solution for this thing not to happen again? So what happened was, one day after work, I just played a tape. I forgotten the name of the tape, but Brother Branham was now preparing for the discernment. So we was now talking to the audience, and he was saying, make sure you keep your children close to you, stop moving around. These demons, they move from one person to the other. And then he says, like the demons of epilepsy. So when he mentioned that, something just struck in my heart. And then he says, then he continued on saying something else. Then after some time, he said, when I mentioned the name epilepsy, I saw the demon coming into the building. I saw the dark spirit moving into the building. And then it just triggered now in my mind that whenever those things were happening, it's either maybe I'm thinking so much about it, or someone just mentions the name of epilepsy. So that's when that thing would just come in and say, that's you. And then before I start to think about it, I start to feel dizzy, and the next thing I'll just collapse on the ground and start to have those fits. So so when he mentioned that, then it just triggered in my mind, okay, because many times, like even in church, I would even collapse. Sometimes I'll be trying to sing like in front of people. I would just collapse in front of, and it was just embarrassing. But, I was just praying about it. And until after I heard that voice, and then that's when when the Brother Branham was mentioning now in the tape, that's when I picked now, that's when I was checking the sequence of how it was happening. And then the next question that I was now asking also myself was, what else now should I do? Yes, I've known that this is how it comes, but what should I do about it? Then the second time again, I was coming also from work. Then I just played a tape. And then Brother Branham mentioned, he was preaching, and then he was saying that you can be, in quote, he said, you can be too humble until you let the devil toss you about. And then it just triggered, right? It is like you are listening to the whole tape, but that small portion just goes straight, like it's going straight right into your heart, and you cannot really explain how it happens, but it just flows like it's flowing straight into your heart. And then it's triggered again with, sure, because that's how it happens. When someone says something tells me that that's you, and then somehow I just tend to submit to that thing that is just telling me that's you, and the next thing I feel dizzy, and the picture was actually coming out. And then after I heard that, and I knew that this was directly to me, but still my next question was, then what should I do again from here? So after some time, then I was listening to another tape again. And yeah, and then he mentioned, he was saying that when the devil comes in, you must tell him that by his stripes I'm healed. And then it happened the same way it happened, like you're listening to the whole tape, and then the next thing, that small portion just goes straight into your heart. So I just felt equipped. So I said, okay, so next time it comes, I'm going to say, by his stripes I'm healed. So, but many times you would say it, but there is a way that you say it, which is a bit like different from, it's got a certain depth that it has, like you're putting yourself, like the way I was now seeing it, like in my mind was like I was seeing like the cells, like the blood cells of Jesus Christ, like breaking up like that. And it's more like you're visualizing the reality of what happened on Calvary. That was the way I was seeing. So the next time it happened, it was also another preacher who it was in church, and then he quoted that same scripture, the same incident of the father whose son was falling in the water and sometimes would fall in the fire. And then then that same thing, he said, "That's you." And I felt, it was once it said that, I would feel that, like that aura, like, you would feel something around you, and a conscience that would just complete with, okay, this is what about to happen. And then I just said, no, by stripes I'm healed. And I felt the thing going away. It was like something physical, like something that you really feel the thing is now like going away. And it was like, so it became like, it just dawned on me that, oh, okay, so that was the solution. And then the service ended, I didn't collapse. And it happened again. Another preacher came in and he was quoting another, it was a quotation of the same quotation of this other brother who had a brother also who was sick. I think Brother Branham told the wife to take off the shirt and throw it in the fire. And then when he quoted the same thing, because previously when that same quotation was quoted, I collapsed also, because something would just come and say, no, that's you, and then the next thing I would collapse. And then the thing came again, and then I just said, by stripes I'm healed, and the next thing it went. So it started now to, it just started to, it continued on happening that way until I was completely healed. I never had those problems again. It's been many years now. I think it's something that I'm confidently able now to say, because there's times that I would feel, okay, maybe this time it's gone. But after some time, you'd feel you have another seizure, and it was like, okay, what's really happening here? But this time it's gone for good, and I really feel, happy, excited, and it's something that you really feel the reality of something that you've been believing for quite some time, but yet without the actual experience of it. Like, sometimes Brother Branham would mention how aggressive a demon of epilepsy is, and having that kind of a testimony that you can really have something that you can show off and say, this is what the Lord has done. And yet the prophet was saying, of all the demons, this is one of the, one of the most aggressive, and having that kind of a testimony, and just to think also that God weighs the testimony and say, okay, he weighs the temptation or the affliction and say, okay, he weighs it first before he gives it to you. He also gives me confidence that, he really has confidence in me. Yeah. So I just want to thank the Lord for the message and for the confidence that he gave me and the patience actually to wait until he's answered all the prayers, and right now I don't even feel any form of dizziness. Even if I sleep for 2 hours or 3 hours, I don't even feel, not even a trace of it. Not even a trace of it. I can, right now, even at work, sometimes I'm into networking. So I can even like climb on top of the ladders and everything. It's like I even drive, it's something that I also was thinking about. Okay, should I be able to drive, But just want to thank the Lord for his goodness.